I think we're on.
We are on.
We're on. Hi, Marcus. How you doing?
So fine, so fine. Thank you
Excellent.
for this opportunity to share some thoughts,
Yeah,
talk about the zero knowledge that I think is a huge trend. If the people is not understanding that it's a huge trend,
let's
things are
explain it.
not going well.
Well, true. Let's hope we can explain it to them and they understand what we see. Agreed.
Well,
Okay. I guess let's get going. A bit of introductions. People I think know you better than they know me, but I'll kick things off a little bit. I'm Peter, CTO here at Concordium. Been busy in blockchain for a while now, and spent the last year kind of working on the Concordium chain, which I think is a fantastic project, and it's got a great opportunity here regarding zero knowledge proofs and identities and everything that we're doing. And yeah, looking forward to having a conversation with you about everything we can do with it. So
good.
over to you.
Okay, about Marcos, I am the head of blockchain and convergence. Convergence is a new word in the crypto ecosystem because it's trying to merge all the things strange that that are coming as agent, AI agent, quantum, post-quantum, and of course blockchain. And regarding zero knowledge, I think it's one of the best fits in the way to improve the real use of the blockchain. From my side, I have been working in blockchain and crypto ecosystem for a while too, 10 years, I think, in all the stages, all the areas in startups environments, in institutional environment. And I think it's a very interesting moment. And
Agreed.
the market is a bit red these days, but the real use of the technology, I think is getting more and more users.
Agreed.
And this is one of the things that when I'm waking up every day saying this technology is going to move forward and do a lot of changes. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Agreed. Likewise. I'm looking forward to the conversation. So, I guess one of the issues I've got, Marcus, and I'm sure you come across it yourself as well, is kind of explaining what zero knowledge proof actually is.
Yeah.
We kind of get it, but I know trying to explain it to my family members sometimes kind of they get like, what you mean? It's you proving something without knowing anything about anything, right? So it's a difficult thing to explain to people. I don't know if you've got an analogy. I've got one or two analogies that we can use to explain as to kind of what it's about. Do you have a good
Yeah.
example?
I think there is enough examples to show the reality, because when you are talking, for example, with no digital people is a real challenge.
Yeah.
Then you need to explain that you are able to prove something or to prove anything without revealing the real data or the real matter or the real thing, the real document. Then it's a technology that is using mathematics and cryptography and is the base of that proof.
Yeah.
Then it's a thing, it's something ethereal that is about trust, because we are trusting on mathematics. Let
Correct.
me say that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think to break it down, I always use the analogy of a prove the PIN number of your card, right?
Yeah,
I can give you my PIN number, but then that's not a good thing because I've given you
yeah.
my PIN number. But I can also say, look, come with me to the cash machine.
Mhm.
I'm gonna put this card in the cash machine and I'm gonna take out money, right?
Yeah,
Now I've proven to you that I know my PIN because
yeah.
there's no other way of
Good
kind of me
example.
getting that money, right? So it's a kind of a way of getting people to understand what is it we're trying to do when we say we're trying to prove I have something, I have a secret, I have a way of doing
Yeah,
something, or I can prove a statement without me giving you all the information so that you can prove it. And I think that's kind of where
yeah.
the kind of subtlety comes into to zero
Or,
knowledge proofs and what we're
or,
trying to do.
or for example, when you are trying to get into some place, for example, you don't need to show your credit or credential,
Exactly.
but at the end you are going to be able to get in or not. Then
Exactly.
is the other proof.
Yeah.
And this is the other topic that we are if we are using CK, zero knowledge, we are going to guarantee GDPR and other regulations. That's why I think it's quite critical right now, because
Agreed.
uh, one point I suppose that the audience knows a little bit about zero knowledge. Zero knowledge is not new technology. It's a
No,
technology that is coming from 17th.
yeah.
But now, because we are working with blockchain in some points, it's crucial. That is the perfect fit. Sorry,
Uh, uh, no, no, agreed, agreed. I think again, just kind of highlighting kind of what you're saying about the timing of it all. Yeah, the
yeah,
technology, the principles of it have existed way back, like
yeah,
1980s and whatever it was when it first
yeah,
started coming out, right? But now a lot of the information is digitized. A lot of this information is available to be used in these mathematical equations and in this kind of systematic approach to it.
yeah,
That does give, and I think it's also a level of understanding that in general the population has, right? We are
yeah.
much more comfortable with how identity or information is electronically held, how devices work, and kind of a lot more kind of understanding of how information flows from one to the other. So
This
hence the
this
timing.
yeah, this is a very good point, because if we make some questions to the main corporates, and we are asking about what are your main pains for the next year or for the next 3 years,
Yeah.
I I assume that one of the biggest pain for them is regarding the hacking, the hacking
GDPR
issues, the
data.
GDPR data. Um, at the end, this is a lot of money that in terms of business,
Hmm.
you need every day spend a lot of money in the way to protect the data, not only the whole data, some strategic data, some sensitive data. This is crucial, and
Yeah.
it's a very good opportunity to grow for some companies from regarding zero knowledge as Concordium, or regarding security. But it's a matter of, at the end, we are solving a real problem for the civilians, for any user. You are really protecting your data, because
Yeah.
now, as you know, everyone, we are data. We are only data. We are not
Your data
persons.
points.
We are numbers.
Yes, all the movies in the back in the past have now become true. We just
it's,
didn't
it's
realize.
like Matrix. It's Matrix film. um,
Exactly.
and there is another topic. I'm sorry, because you know
No, no,
that
go for it. Go for
I'm Spanish, and then I talk a lot.
it. No,
The
go
thing
for it.
is that the people that is ready to pay to get that privacy is huge.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
much money do you want? Are you able to pay for protect your data?
Well, I mean, look, I think we've gone a full circle, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is again all about timing, where zero knowledge
Mm.
proofs come in, and people having that understanding, which is like before we gave up all our data, before we
Yeah.
literally gave ourselves up completely, without even realizing we were doing it. We were a lot more cautious. Like
Yeah.
we wouldn't walk around the streets giving our address out to people. We
Yeah.
wouldn't walk around the streets telling everybody our name, our date of birth, or kind of what we like and what we don't like, etc., etc.
Absolutely.
And there was this kind of notion where it's okay if I go to my football club and in there is a merchant selling footballs, because
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense. I'm going to a football club and I'm going to buy a football. We kind of lost our way when the merchant followed us from the football club into our house and
Yeah.
is now watching how many times I watch football, or how many times I talk about football, or like the privacy that we had previously, where it was a physical barrier,
Yeah.
has kind of disappeared into this digital world where we can be followed very easily and very openly, and we've
Mm.
kind of consented to it. Now people are waking up to it, and we want to claim control back, right? And I
Uh,
think this is where the zero knowledge proofs also come into it.
it's a huge concern, because at the end, if even if we are working, or if we are working on Web3 environments that is real time, trustable, is the biggest concern for the people. Someone
Yeah,
can follow your paths, your transactions, everything,
exactly,
your data.
exactly.
That's why it's critical to use CK, zero knowledge, when you are using blockchain, or even with other
In
technologies. But
general, in general, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
I
and,
think
and I think this is, yeah. Sorry, go on, go on, go on.
no. It's that I think is one of the things, or the technology that can protect actively your data and
Yeah,
your behavior. Because at the end, if someone, for example, newspapers that are reading you, then they can modify the information regarding your behavior. Then it's the only way. So this is not polite, but at the end, is
no, no,
protect your behavior, not
yeah.
only your data.
No, agreed. And I think this is the whole thing with the with what we're doing with the decentralizations. I think everyone's kind of understood. We're kind of giving all our information to these central hubs, so we
Absolutely.
understand we want to move away from that and kind of be a bit more in control of what we have and where we have it. And to be honest, identity is a big one. On that
Yes.
front, right? So we want to maintain our identity. It's kind of where Concordium's identity layer comes into it. We want to put that in your hands,
Yeah.
not in anyone else's hands. And then with the zero knowledge proof and the power of the mathematics, as you said, behind it, is
Mhm.
to allow you to say, look, I am over 18. Look, I am in this jurisdiction. This is indeed my name. I can verify that this is my identity,
Yeah.
without showing everybody your passports and your driving license and all the information that goes with it.
Um, and this is a very interesting point. I think the biggest companies we are working on the digital identity and the ADAS 2 or other legal frameworks that are coming in the next year.
Hmm.
Um, One of the topics is how can I protect my digital identity or even the digital product passport for
Yeah.
some materials, some everything. And this is the huge concern because if you are showing the data, because you need to compliance with some auditors, you are exposing all your value chain,
Hmm.
and any competitor can can
Yeah.
bet better.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think we kind of have got used to the fact that we need to prove our identity. I
Yeah,
think we've got used to the fact that we live in a digital world, and we have to show these things. And I think everyone's now under the kind of regular habit of going, well, I need my passport or driving license. I need to
yeah,
take a scan of it. I need to do a selfie, and then I need to send it here. But
absolutely.
what I think people are realizing is the fact that we're doing that so often.
Yeah,
We're now pretty much doing it in everywhere we go, which means there's a copy of my information
yeah.
in all these central places.
For for
Um,
for example, there is a use case that we are working on that
mhm,
is the medical data for people for childs, for example. If you need to travel to other country,
yeah,
then there is not a real possibility of sharing that data without exposing the
full details.
this, yeah, the full details, the sensitive data. Then these kind of tools using blockchain with zero knowledge,
Mhm.
they're allowing you to show some part of the data, only the data that the medical can
Yeah,
require
needed.
for some specific, but is you're protecting all the part of the data, even if we are using some kind of e-consent like a digital consent that you can allow some access to the doctor, but
Mhm.
after that you can refuse, then
Take it back.
never more. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is quite interesting. This is the typical use cases that the people is not understanding that the technology can do this.
Yeah. And look, I think this is for me. It's an interesting turning point,
Hmm.
because it's almost like when we talk about technology, being in technology, like we for us this is our bread and butter. We get it.
Yeah.
We love having these conversations and going deep into it. But majority of the population,
Yeah.
however, don't enjoy these
Yeah.
conversations. So it's just I think we're at that point in time where this technology is going to be used without being seen, right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of where you want technology to go. You now everybody understands encryption, right? We know that when we're having a chat on WhatsApp, for example, and
Yeah.
the message comes up, your chat is encrypted. We get the notion. We don't understand it. We don't know how it's working and why it's encrypted.
Hmm.
The technology does it for us, and we have a trust in it. I think in the coming months and the coming years, this is where the blockchain technology, the zero knowledge proof technology, is kind of going to fade into the background, and it's
Yeah.
just going to work, and people are going to trust it, and you're going to have the use cases that sit on top. Like as you say, I'm in a broad place. I need my medical information.
Hmm.
How do I get access to it? Well, there isn't a way. Well, actually, if there's a blockchain that's globally available, I have a way of verifying that I am who I am, and I can consent to you having information about this specific operation. Then it makes a lot more sense rather than me putting my medical
Yeah.
record under my arm and traveling with it.
Absolutely. This is a very interesting point because at the end, when you are creating any project, in your team, you don't need only some cryptographers. You need some people that
Yeah,
is able to create something very, very simple because
yeah,
simple is major. Simple is the most.
yeah.
Then, if you are able to create some application that is quite simple, as traditional applications, without explaining, without showing any hash, any blockchain matter, any any cryptography at the end, is going to be more usable, especially for young people. But now young people is quite digital native, but especially for senior people. You need to
Agreed.
send that data. Okay, send. That's all.
Yep. Yep. No,
That's why
agreed.
it's critical to
Yeah,
have like mixed teams of several profiles.
which is kind of what our whole proposition at Concordium is about, right? It's the
Yeah,
fact that we have our identity. It is ingrained into this blockchain, which you don't need to understand how or why, but it
absolutely.
is, and it's been verified. People can look at it and say, yes, we trust in the code that's running here. And then you've got a very simple app that you download, the
Yeah,
identity app, right? That's all it does. It does your identity, and the merchants have the ability to kind of implement this
yeah,
verification requests easily enough into their website with plugins, and then you're off. You literally rock up to a website that says, "I need to verify you're over the age of 18," for example,
yeah,
and you can just scan with your app. It says, "Do you consent?" You say yes, and it's done. No need to worry about seed
absolutely.
phrases. No need to worry about blockchains or anything like that.
For
And
for example, we are working together, Concordium and Fujitsu. We are working
yeah, yeah,
in a digital product passport that is, for example, is only used for people that is not digital. For example, farmers.
correct.
For example, farmers.
Yep,
You can use
yep,
your app, take some photos, send the info, and you are working with zero knowledge, and the people is not understanding that. But they are sending, and they are sending information. They are we complies with all the regulation, and they are being auditing at the end. Then this is the more simple, when you're talking about this and you're showing the app in the screenshot. Oh,
yep.
it's not working with zero knowledge.
I get it.
Yes, it's working. It's quite simple.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's the thing,
Mm,
right? We kind of understand that encryption protects our
yeah,
communication, right? Because we've come to
mm,
terms with that. What we need to understand now that zero knowledge proof now protects our privacy,
absolutely.
right? And that's the next level, whether that's privacy in transactions, whether that's privacy
Yeah,
in identity. And I think it's an interesting point to maybe talk about the regulatory
absolutely.
aspect of
This
it,
is the main. Yeah,
right? Because at the end of the day, we do live, and there has
yeah,
to be some sort of regulation that does protect us to a certain extent and does monitor, but we also don't want it to be completely intrusive either. So
yeah.
getting that balance right is also important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially when you are working, for example, with some regulators, environment, pharma, health, financial, of course, insurance. This is the main pain. You need to ensure that everything is compliant with GDPR and with other regulation regarding data and regarding transparency of financial movements.
hmm,
That's why CK, zero knowledge, is quite interesting, because you are protecting as design. You are protecting the data as design, as the center of the application of the service that you are doing. The thing is that where is going this regulation? And I think that I'm going to be now quite disruptive, but I think that Mica version 2, my new Mica that is
yeah,
coming
yeah.
in 2 years,
New version,
is going to include zero knowledge in that
correct.
regulation,
I
because
reckon.
it's the only way to get on board huge institutions. They are protecting the data. They are using blockchain as a financial infrastructure, data infrastructure, but they are going to be protected. That's why I think that they are going to put some part in the regulation that CK is going to be quite recommended. For example, ADAS 2, they are recommending regarding digital identity. They are recommending that you can get more privacy if you are using zero knowledge technologies.
And I agree 100%. We're actually talking to regulators as we speak right now with our solution, because it is very much zero knowledge proof,
Yep,
and it does have an auditable anchor on chain that is immutable, right? So the
absolutely.
merchant the merchant can hold their hand up and say, "I did my checks. Here's the proof. Here's
Yeah,
the evidence." Which the whole point of zero knowledge proof is I can replay the evidence. I can
yeah.
re-verify that I did indeed
Um,
let this person in who is 18 and still is 18. So if you am getting kind of audited as a merchant,
yeah.
I'm happy with the knowledge that this is fine. Come and audit. It's okay.
And there is another topic that so many clients are make this question during the or meetings is that do I need to anchorate every data? And it's not. You don't need to anchor every data in the blockchain or specific data, sensitive data. No, no. You don't need to create a double save. Then you are saving energy, computational effort too. And then you are going to anchor it some events, only some events. And that's the critical point because
Agree.
it's the only way if you want to
Well,
scale your product. Yeah,
it's also, you also don't want to anchor everything onto the chain because it's a publicly open chain as well. So you
it's not
can,
necessary.
again, with the same mathematics that's protecting it, you
Yeah,
can you can use the same mathematics to profile it again.
yeah,
So the whole point is you put enough on there to prove, to anchor it, to
yes.
kind of timestamp it, whichever method. And look, at the end of the day, you also got to take the use case into account. Some
Mm,
use cases, because it's warranted, you do need that regular. And some use cases, it's okay just to put like an anchor
yep,
every hour or every week or whatever it may be. So I think, again, the technology has to allow the use case to make those decisions as to kind of how it's used and how it's kind of stored. I think the interesting point from the regulators, which is the conversation that we're having with them, is with the use of zero knowledge proofs, as you say, which once it gets mentioned and once everyone understands this is how the regulators monitoring us,
yeah,
which means again your data is safe, right? Because with the whole point of this process is when you verified you were over the age of 18 at that point in time to the merchant, you didn't give anything away. When the
yeah,
regulator comes to monitor and kind of investigate the merchant, you still haven't got any information that is now being kind of used here.
absolutely.
um, and just going to the extreme of regulation, because I think this is kind of where potentially the jury's still out in our space on this, is what should the regulator be able to do? What should a governing body be able to do? How far is privacy versus not
Mm,
privacy versus, right? So the scale is also an interesting one to
yeah,
talk about. And I think this is where our disclosure process potentially comes into it as well, where we have
mm,
the ability to say, in the event of an extreme case where it
yeah.
is a law issue now, we have the ability to kind of say we can identify if necessary.
Remember that here we suffer the tornado cash situation, tornado cash in
Yeah,
USA that
yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
last year or 2 years ago.
Yep.
And this is like the huge mistake in the crypto ecosystem.
Just
Then,
too far.
yeah, then the regulators are, they are understanding or misunderstanding that coin mixer and privacy and CK is the same. No, 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 no. Coin mixer is one thing that is, as Tornado Cash, that the technology is fine,
Right.
but they were focused in the AML systems or anti-AML systems. That is fine. They are improving the privacy, but this is not the way of how is working CK. CK is protecting data and is validating data.
Correct.
Validating data. This is like
Yeah.
creating a proof of evidence. This is the real simple words. You are creating a proof of evidence.
Correct.
That's why um, when you are creating the software of any application in regarding CK, you need to think in a very different way. You are not working with data, you are working with proof of evidence. This is the
Yes.
typical thing. Then it's more simple to understand how CK is working. It's working with proof of evidence. And with that, you can combine the data. It's like a protect data. Uh, and you are creating the cryptography of this data for example, full homomorphic encryption, right? And you are combining this data together.
Yep.
This is,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
but
know
it's
if
it's a
I've,
it's a fundamental shift, right? It's a
yeah,
fundamental shift in mentality and approach in system design,
yeah,
because up to now we've always worked with reveal. Lack of a
yeah.
better word, it's reveal. Give me the information, I'll make a decision based on it, and
That's
the whole trust model is I'll protect the data. Trust me.
yeah,
That's really what it is. Up to now, all systems, that's basically how they work.
yeah.
And now we're at that pivotal point where I'm saying, look, don't give me the data. Give me
Mm.
proof that you have
That's
the
all.
data, and I'll do the rest. And that keeps me safe, keeps you safe, and we can continue.
Yeah.
And that's the fundamental difference in when it comes to kind of developers out there who are building these systems, or platforms who want to
Mm.
incorporate it, or even enterprises and companies who want to
I,
make this.
I think that the first business area that was adopting this was insurance regarding the fraud and risk of the operations. Then I remember 2 years ago when we were start talking about how to use zero knowledge and
Hmm.
privacy data in the terms of guarantees, and they didn't know. Even they were not working over blockchain. That is, I think, is a fail because you can automatize so many things. But if you are explaining that you are adding extra privacy to the guarantees, for example, and you can reduce the risk and fraud
Hmm.
for any insurance, and you can, for example, improve 20% of the margins, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's why
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need to touch the point, the
The
pain
pain
point.
point.
Yeah,
The
the
pain
pain
points.
point, and say you can improve only with some technology, with some investment. You can create something quite different, but you need to change the mindset of the company
Yes.
because now
Agree.
the data is like raw data. Now you need to transform into a proof of data.
Mm.
It's only that mindset.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I think the more people kind of understand how this works, the more industries will kind of begin to understand where they can use it. Like
Yeah,
take age verification, the very, very big thing at the moment, right? Websites are being forced, social medias are being forced to kind of enforce that they are over a certain age, right?
yeah,
And that is for me a perfect example of where zero knowledge proof comes in. I still want to visit these websites. I still want to go and interact, but I don't want to now give my information away in 16 different places.
yeah,
So having my identity to be able to do a zero knowledge proof against
yeah.
allows me access. It protects the merchants, and it does actually protect the regulation that we're trying to put in the first place. And I think there's a nuance here where bigger corporations need to kind of understand. And,
Mm,
and and kind of help drive the technology and the adoption here. For example, we've got Pornhub was pulled out of the UK because they're saying the regulator can't keep up and whatnot. I think it's you using the wrong technology. Like,
mm.
come and talk to us. Is these kind of things is that helps
Yeah.
adoption, that helps people understand and kind of get to a point where these use cases come about and make a lot more sense.
For example, in the Scottish sandbox now, the new that is
Hmm.
opening in January, they are thinking about this. They are thinking, how can we integrate? Because we understand that blockchain is trust and transparency, but we want to improve the privacy.
Yeah.
How is this combining? And then you explain that transparency is fine, but we are now in a new age that is
Yes.
protect the data of your investors, protect the data of your users, and it's combining it. They are working together. You
Yes.
are showing transparency, you are showing immutability, of course, but you are protecting data because, as we say, it's a proof of evidence that you are
It's a
working on.
balance. It's a
It's
balance, right? And it's
this is a good.
it is all of, and I guess life is just a
Yeah,
balance, right? So, and it's the same in the digital world, right? We got to get the balance right.
mm,
How private are we versus how
yeah,
transparent are we versus how monitored we are, right? Or between these three, we have to get the midpoint. I always try to kind of explain to people like, what do you mean by this? Is like, would you walk into a stadium where everyone's wearing a balaclava?
yeah,
Probably not, right? Because
yeah,
it's intimidating. It's
yeah,
all very kind of no one knows anything about anyone,
yeah,
and it's too private in that sense, right? But at the same time, you don't walk into a stadium where everyone's holding a big banner that says, "This is my name, this is my address, and this is
yeah.
my date of birth," right?
Absolutely.
So the balance is somewhere in the middle, right? Where
Um,
and I think this is the other bit that is I think people are catching on now is how actually globally open we are. Right, this is
yeah,
you're not just visible to your neighbors and to your surrounding. You are visible to the world, right? There's
absolutely.
people around the world who can monitor and view. So your behavior on these digital systems and platforms is important and you should be protected and you should kind of be
Yeah.
aware of what you're doing.
I don't want to disturb you, but I'm going to open
Okay.
a new door that is
Okay, let's go for it.
agents. Is the artificial
Yeah.
intelligent agents.
Yes. Yes.
Now we are living a huge trend where our agents can be talking together.
Yeah.
That's why there is another risk point of this agent is going to share some data about some, I don't know, some questions and documents that you are sharing with your personal agent. Then you need to protect that data. That
Yeah.
I assume that in any point, I suppose that in few months, it will be appearing CK agents. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
agent that is protecting the data. because at the end is the they are using the data, and you don't know exactly where the agent is,
sending it or
is
doing
spending.
or what they're doing. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many moving parts at the moment
Yeah,
regarding privacy, regarding blockchains and openness and centralization versus decentralization and AI agents versus human agents and
yeah.
bots and whatnot. It's a big kind of mixture of chemicals that is
Yeah.
kind of taking place at the moment. But again, the fundamental, as you say, is privacy, is protection, is being able to kind of use these technologies that
Hmm.
are now much more easily available. They have
Um,
been kind of
abs-
practiced and enhanced to be in a place where we can protect ourselves.
yeah, there are, for example, one of the topics that when we are working with clients, they are talking about the level of stress, the number of transactions that CK can be handling. And the answer is the same. You need to use the technology smartly, with smart. I mean, you don't need to index every data. You need to only anchor it. You need to anchor only some specific data. Then you are going to get traceability and transparency of the full chain. But at the end, you are going to get this privacy data, this proof of data, as part of the compliance. That's why it's the typical question like how many data is able to manage
User
this?
people.
No,
Yeah.
no, there is not any pain here.
No,
It's a
agreed,
matter of
agreed.
it's a matter of create a new architecture.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think maybe use that as an opportunity to kind of explain how we're doing the zero knowledge proof, so maybe people have a better understanding, and I think that can drive adoption, right?
Yeah,
Once people understand, once they have a much better understanding, and once merchants and enterprises have a better understanding as to why and
yeah,
the benefit to it, you might I think it's a snowball effect, right, on that front. So I guess the way I'd like to explain it is if we take the solution that we have in mind, you go in and you verify your identity with an
yeah,
identity provider that you're used to doing at the moment, right? You get that information, it stays in your device. Now, no one's got access to it because that's encrypted. We're happy, we're comfortable with encryption. We get it, even though it's on my phone, no
yeah,
other person can view it. Now, what we do on top of that is we put a commitment onto a chain, which is undisputable, right?
yeah,
Which means now I can't change that data in my device. I can't change my date of birth because it won't match the anchor that's on the chain.
yeah,
Now, because that exists, it means I can rock up to a site. The site can say, "Can you prove you're over 18?" Now, I don't need to give my date of birth to prove I'm over 18 because then you're doing the work, right? That's again the
yeah,
back to the reveal. I reveal my date of birth. You take the information, you do the maths, and say, "Yes, you're over 18." Instead, what we do is you say, "Is your age between 18 and 100?"
yeah,
Right? So you give it a range, and as long as I can prove that my number is between those two, I haven't given you my date of birth, but you have enough to say I can check it against what's on the chain that's immutable,
yeah,
and say yes. I'm happy to let you in. I'm happy that you're over 18 and I know nothing about you. And that's kind of the win on the merchant side there is that you haven't got my information that you now have to be liable for GDPR or worry
yeah,
about being hacked and things like that. And I don't have to worry about the fact that I've given you all my information
mm,
because it's safe and it's undisputable. Right. And the
absolutely.
regulator's happy because the regulator can come and verify and
Yeah,
say, that 3 days ago when you verified Pete, can you show me? And he goes, yeah, here it is on the chain. Here's the anchor. So it's kind of a win-win situation on that front.
good resume, because I think it's at the end you have explained very clear what is the pain and how it's solving. And if you are saying that on top of that at the end you are indexing some critical steps, some critical data, then you can audit in any time
Exactly.
that you are
Exactly.
compliance
Yeah, and I
without
think that's
expose. Yeah,
without exposing it. At no point has my date of birth gone anywhere apart from my device, and I think that's the bit that people, and I think that's what will drive adoption. People understanding that, merchants understanding that, and regulators understand that. As you say, once the regulator kind of
mm,
puts that into, we should have zero knowledge for these reasons.
yeah.
Merchants will then adopt it, and then users will then adopt it. So
Um, and one open question for you, Peter. What is the next industry that you consider that is going to adopt CK?
um, that's a
Give me some ideas.
we I mean, the funny thing is, we speak to a lot of different industries, right? And you can
Yeah,
see a lot of different healthcare,
mm,
as you kind of
yeah,
mentioned, is an obvious one. Insurance is an obvious one. Um, the adult industry is an obvious one right now. Social media, where you're trying to kind of validate users
Yeah.
without getting all that information. Dating sites,
Hmm.
all those kind of things. Gaming, like I think there's also an element where gaming will come into it, right? Am I
Absolutely.
playing? Yeah, am I playing this game with adults, or am I playing this game
Yeah.
with children? Am I an adult
Yeah.
in children's game? Like, oh, there's a level of protection that needs to come on that front as well.
Yeah.
In that,
I'm go-
and sorry,
and
just to finish that question
yeah.
is, that's all the stuff that's online. We haven't even crossed like entering a bar, or going to
Yeah.
an event, or going to a concert, right? Does this ticket actually belong to me, or have I just
Yeah.
like bought it from somewhere on the street? All of those are where I can validate, I can put zero knowledge proofs against it. This ticket is mine. I can prove it's mine without giving you all my
Hmm.
information. Will start coming in once more and more people understand it.
Okay, I'm going to give you another one, and I
Okay.
hope that you Fujitsu and Concordium will be working together on this. Military use and critical infrastructures.
Yeah. I
I
like
th-
I like the sound of that. Yes.
because there is coming a lot of money, a lot of investment here in Europe and UK regarding this,
Mm.
and I think that CK can cover a lot of pains, can protect some critical infrastructures, water, others, electrical, and I think if we can, if we are able to explain in simple words to the governments that if we are using this technology, we are going to be more protected.
Protected.
I think
Agreed.
is a perfect chance.
Well, I mean, kind of the defense and military is always kind of there, right? Where you want to, that's one of the most critical things you want to protect. That's kind of where everything
Yeah,
started from. And yeah, I agree. This is kind of where the next phase of this technology can go as well,
yeah.
right?
Well, let's work. Let's work on this
Why not?
together.
I'm looking forward to it. I
Well,
I think that's time. I'm not. I think we should.
yeah.
It's been a pleasure, Marco, talking
Oh,
to you. It's good to always exchange ideas and have these conversations, and I think we should have more of them. And yeah, looking forward to the collaboration as we've always have.
of course, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting Fujitsu here to be here. And of course, let's work on this because I think we have a huge opportunity.
Agreed.
Well,
Pleasure.